Hey guys, Brandon here. It's been about a week since my last video, but I figured it's better late than never. A lot of people have been asking me throughout these last couple of weeks, what video game systems do I have? So I figured I'd make this video and showcase some of the few game systems that I have plugged up into the TV, ready to go, ready to be played and enjoyed, and also give you a brief history lesson. The first game system is none other than the original Nintendo, or as I like to call the NES. This was an 8-bit console that was released in the US in 1985. It has another name known as Famicom in Japan, which just basically means family computer. This game system helped revitalize the US gaming industry following the video game crash of 1983. The next game system is the Super Nintendo, or SNES, also known as the Super Famicom. This was a 16-bit console, and it was released in the US in 1991. This was Nintendo's second home-based console, and it was also the best-selling console in the 16-bit era. Of course, everybody's favorite, the Nintendo 64. This was released in the US in 1996. It's a 64-bit console, and it's also Nintendo's third home video console and last console to use cartridges. Next we have the original PlayStation 1, or PS1 for short. This was a 32-bit console that was released in the US in 1995. Sony sold more than 102 million units in 10 years since its launch. The last game system is the Sega Genesis, but it's also called the Mega Drive. This was a 16-bit console that was released in the US in 1989. Some of my favorite games on the Sega Genesis included Fatal Fury 2 and Mortal Kombat. The game Mortal Kombat had a lot of controversy, which pushed Sega to create the Video Game Rating Council. And of course, a compartment to store all of the wires, accessories, and controllers for all the game systems. And actually, in the corner, there happens to be a Sega Genesis. I don't remember putting this here, but I'm happy to have found it. Now, I may not have owned a Nintendo 64 when I was younger. I settled for the PlayStation, and in its own right, it was a great console as well. And it was actually my first disc-based console. I still do have a lot of fond memories playing games on the Nintendo 64 at my friend's house. That could possibly be the reason why I have a lot of Nintendo 64 games that I don't really remember where they came from. The first game that I remember very clearly playing when I was younger on the Nintendo 64 would have to be Star Fox 64. This game is very unique. I recall it was released with what is known as the Rumble Pack. It was quite different, newer technology at the time. The controller would vibrate, similar to DualShock controllers on the PlayStation. You can't own a Nintendo 64 without this game to play along with it. Super Smash Bros. One of my favorite games to play with the friends and the family. A lot of enemies have been made playing this game, but there's always a bunch of memories that will last a lifetime. In all of its glory, its perfect condition, no label markings whatsoever. Really happy to own this, and I play it as often as I can. The last of the games would have to be Conker's Bad Fur Day. This is my all-time favorite, best game that I love to play on the Nintendo 64. Graphically, it's also the most appealing. It's probably the greatest title released by Rare until Microsoft ran them into the ground. Of course, this is a classic, and this game is also quite valuable. Just to show a few of the accessories that the Nintendo 64 used, I have with me a memory card. Now, you may be asking yourself, what makes this memory card different than that of the PlayStation 1 and the PlayStation 2? This memory card had to be inserted into the controller, whereas the memory cards of the PlayStation 1 and the PlayStation 2 could be inserted into the console itself above the player ports. I know I have a Rumble Pack lying around here somewhere, but all I have to show is a Tremor Pack, which is basically the same thing, it's just a third-party device. It uses 2 AA batteries. I also have a second Tremor pack. Not much is known about this one. I'm certain that it is possibly a third-party creation. It's green. What's special about this one is that it requires no batteries whatsoever. It also acts as its own memory card and uses the power supply from the console itself. The Sega Genesis was probably the game system that I remember playing the most. Just to show a few of the games the Sega Genesis has, let's start it with showing The Jungle Book. Disney had a large library of games on the Sega Genesis, and they actually were all entertaining. They were fun to play. This game I actually have not played. I purchased this a few years ago just because it had my last name, Ernest Evans. I was always a Looney Tunes fan when I was a little kid, so of course I had to have this game, Taz-Mania. A game that I really enjoyed playing when I was younger with my brother was Primal Rage. This game was unlike anything that I remember at the time. You could play as dinosaurs as well as I think the Umbilical Snowman. It's a nice arcade fight 'em styled action game like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. Here's a game that has always really frustrated me. Disney's The Lion King. I never completed this game, and I don't plan to, as it was too frustrating then, possibly too frustrating now. This game is, however, probably my favorite Sega Genesis title that is compatible with an arcade joystick. Street Fighter II Championship Edition. These next 2 games are the first 2 games that I remember quite clearly to introduce 2-player mode that both my brother and I really played non-stop consecutive hours. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Now, of course, being the younger sibling, I had the curse of always being second player. But of course, it had its advantages because without me, Tails, my brother could not get to where he needed to go unless I flew his ass to his destination. The camera only really focused on Sonic, and considering my older brother was first player, it only followed him around, so I always ended up getting lost, killed, or God knows what else. This last game was another game that I remembered both my brother and I enjoyed playing non-stop. It is called Altered Beast. I believe it's just a graphically enhanced remake of the first Altered Beast that was played on the Sega Master System. I really want to give a big thank you to all of my subscribers. I thank you guys so much, and for all the likes and all the comments that you leave. It really keeps me motivated to want to keep making a variety of different videos for my channel. Feel free to get active in the comments section below. Perhaps there's something you'd like to see in a future video. Any and all feedback is greatly appreciated, as always. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. And as always, gamers, game on, sunrise to sunset. Take it easy.